Today's decision by the United States Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade, which has determined access to abortions for the past 50 years. The news was not a surprise after a leaked memo showed an early draft last month. Hundreds gathered at the Supreme Court in Washington. Daisy Gonzales Perez was there and brings us the reaction.
The Supreme Court today ruled that there is no constitutional right to an abortion, overruling its 1973 Roe v. Wade decision and saying the decision on an abortion restriction must be returned.
That ruling was greeted with cheers by the hundreds of anti-abortion protesters outside the court, who have been waiting decades for this day to come.
That's been on America for almost 50 years has now been lifted, and the real work begins. We know over 20 states are going to go back to their laws pre-Roe, which is a protection of life.
For anti-abortion right activists, this ruling came as a shock.
Illegitimate! Supreme Court! Illegitimate! Supreme Court! Illegitimate!
Like many in the crowd, Chandler resident KAITLYN, who did not want to give her last name, said it was an emotional moment.
Being at home, I didn't realize that. I knew that it was important to me. I didn't know how important it was. But being here, it truly is a right that they're taking away from us, and I think we need to change. I think the courts need to change.
Many of the abortion right protesters here expected the court might narrow Roe, but the 6-3 decision by Justice Samuel Alito said there has never been a constitutional right to an abortion. Roe was, quote, egregiously wrong from the start and must be overruled, he wrote, and abortion decisions should be returned to the states. There's one thing both sides appear to agree on today. The battle over abortion will now move to state legislatures. And Tempe native Katie BENTON-COHEN said it does not mean the end to abortion in the U.S. for the millions who could be affected by the court's ruling.
The reality is that there are plenty of women in the United States that will continue to have access to abortions, but it is in the most unbelievably discriminatory way that does violence to the very idea of equality in the United States.
At the Supreme Court, Daisy Gonzales Perez, Cronkite News.
This morning, when the Dobbs decision was handed down from the Supreme Court, most were wondering what the president would say and when he would say it. Well, they didn't have to wait long. President Biden made his remarks just a few hours after the Dobbs decision was officially released. Biden said that this decision is taking the country back to the 1800s and leaves no protections for vulnerable women like victims of incest. He challenged Congress to protect abortion as a federal law, as there are real and immediate consequences sweeping across the country. Biden also said the initial decision in Roe v. Wade was the correct one because it will affect more than just abortion rights.
This landmark case protected a woman's right to choose, her right to make intensely personal decisions with her doctor, free from the interference of politics. It reaffirmed basic principles of equality, that women have the power to control their own destiny, and it reinforced a fundamental right of privacy, a right of each of us to choose how to live our lives.
President Biden also put out a call to action to voters saying personal freedoms are on the ballot.